in addition to having field validation rules in Access to make sure your data is valid, you can also have validation rules relating to records. And the way we do this is we want to set this up in the property sheet of a table. So I have my table open in Design View. When I'm looking at my various rates here, I have a daily rate, a weekly rate, and a monthly rate. And I already have it mentioned that my weekly rate has to be higher than my daily rate, and my monthly rate has to be higher than the weekly rate. So I want to make sure that the data entry person puts in a higher rate in both of those categories. What we do is we open up the property sheet for your table. So we're looking at our table properties. We come down to our validation rule, and we can use the expression builder, which is by clicking this build button. My first expression is I want to state my weekly rental rate, and I just double click on it. Has to be greater than my daily rate. And my monthly rate has to be greater than my weekly rate. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. I'm going to come down here and put a validation text. So if a person violates that rule, I want a message to pop up. If you notice, this little box is tiny and small. So I'm just going to right click on it and go to my zoom. And my message is going to say, the weekly rate must be greater than the daily rate. The monthly rate must be greater than the weekly rate. So let's test the data. I'm going to save the table. It tells me my integrity rules have been changed and some of my data might not be valid for those rules. I'm going to say, I know that, I want to look at it anyway. It does tell me that some of my data does violate this new rule. I'm still going to run it and say yes. Now I'm going to go to Data Sheet. So look right here in my very first record. I have a daily rental of 100 and my weekly and my monthly are lower than that. But let's say I'm going to make a mistake. I'm just going to say, okay, my weekly rate is also 100. My monthly rate is also 100. Notice that I don't receive my validation text popping up yet that says I violated that rule. I'm not going to see that until I try to save the record. And the way you save a record is you just click below it. Now I get my message that says my weekly rate must be greater and my monthly rate must be greater. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. I'll come in here and take my weekly rate to be 200 and my monthly rate to be 400. Now if I click to save that record, I don't violate my validation rules. My rules are acceptable and that information is now good.